Hello, hello, guys. Welcome. Come on in, and happy Tuesday night to you. Just a little forewarning ahead of time. Some of the things that we talk about tonight are going to be very upsetting. You know why? Because we're going to be talking about learning loss. We're going to show you exact numbers, and we're going to go over some real hard truths. And we're going to talk about something called the achievement gap, and you'll see it where we can look at certain scores in North Carolina. And we're going to be looking at the end of year scores, or called the end of grade, and they'll be stratified by different demographics. We're going to talk about that tonight. And specifically, we're going to talk about the Hispanic demographic. So I'm going to bring on two very special guests. Both of them are running for school board. First, I'm going to bring on Ruben Castellon. Hello, how are you, sir?
How you doing, man?
I'm good. So the first time I met you and your lovely wife was this weekend, and went to Hoke County to a GOP function, and I thought, you are already living the American dream. You're having the time of your life, etc. You're willing to interrupt your life to serve your community and to serve your country, really. Why are you this crazy? What is making you jump in the race, Ruben?
Well, I wouldn't say that I'm crazy, but I'm gonna say that I'm very disappointed and, quite frankly, disgusted about how the public school system is being run by politicians. Because although most of the elections for the Board of Education are supposed to be nonpartisan, but they're not. There's no such thing as nonpartisan, and I can prove to you by just saying this. During the COVID, when it hit us real hard, they decided to mask our children. They violated their constitutional rights. And that's when I realized that these were not people that had the best interest in my children, in our children. And I realized that there were politicians. So we need to make a change. And, I tell people I am not a politician. And I've even go out of my way to tell I'm disappointed in both parties. I'll tell you this right now. And I just tell people that right now we don't need politicians. The reason why we're here in this place right now is because of the politicians. They want to take care of themselves first. What we need is warriors. We need warriors to change the outcome of the path of where we're going right now.
No, absolutely. I mean, we're looking for, and you're one of our endorsed candidates. Julisa's another one that we're about to bring on. In fact, Julisa, we'll bring you on. We've known each other for a while. We want the America First policies applied to the smallest unit of government, and that would be in the schools. So your school boards, smallest unit of government, it goes on from there. And corruption, as you pointed out, it runs rampant. We're talking about this all the time. We attack state level issues, and the goal for us is to make sure that we're getting the state and the feds off your back, out of your way. Corruption comes out of there, so that the school boards can be more autonomous and work on their own. Julisa, why did you get into this race? Tell us a little bit about you. What made you run? You're running in Cumberland County. Tell us.
Well, I have, my son is a product of the public school system. He in Cumberland County, and I'll tell you, we had to spend $11,000 to pay to the Huntington Learning Center to get him up to grade level in reading when he was in school. Okay, and so I saw that was not something I can do, continue to do with my next children. And so we're homeschoolers, and for the longest time, I did not care what was going on in the schools because it was not affecting me and my children. I was set with schooling my kids at home, and I was comfortable with that. But honestly, everybody that knows me knows I'm a doer. And so we've been complaining about what's going on in our country, what's going on in the schools, the extreme ideologies that are being pushed. And one day I just told my children, I've got to do something. I've got to be able to look at you in your eyes and say, I did something. And so I decided, what am I going to do? I figured running for a political office. I hate politics, honestly. And so I thought that running for school board is the lowest level that I can get in. And actually have the greatest impact, because I think that schools are that important. Obviously, what's being taught in schools is what's going to create that that mindset in children, and then those children grow up to be adults who are going to be the leaders in the community, who are going to be employees in the community. And so that mindset is being created from when they are in schools. And so we then get adults who can't be productive parts of the community because they can't write. I've spoken to employers that are saying these kids coming out of schools can't even do 10%, figure out 10% discount on a product, you know. And so I decided to run for the school board because I believe that what's happening in schools right now is going to will spill out into every aspect of our community. And I can't stand by and allow that to happen. So I'm willing to do my part. I think all of us, if we're unhappy with what's happening right now in our country, we each have to sit down and have a come to Jesus moment and say, what can I do? Mine is, I figured I could run for school board. Other people can do some things.
Right. I mean, look, we at Education First Alliance, we like to meet people where they are, is what we call it. And so some people, they're not political at all. They don't want to even get in the political game. And for them, just sharing one of your social media posts, that's getting in the game. But we have to meet where we are. So that's very good. Ruben, you have a long history of serving your country. Tell us about that. You have a great background.
I tell you, I was 17 years old when I joined the Army. I could hardly read. The recruiter actually helped me, tutor me to be able to pass the ASVAB test. I think I said it before. I didn't begin to learn to read until I was 11. I had a minor level of dyslexia, and it took a special teacher that took the time to realize that there was something wrong with me. And I began to learn how to read when I was in the 11th grade. My wife would tell you, when I witnessed my daughter reading at 4 years and a half, it shocked me. I was in disbelief that kids could do that because I thought it was normal for me. So I did 21 years in the Army. I served my country proudly. And then I didn't stop. I always wanted to be a law enforcement officer, and I went to the academy. I ended up coming here to North Carolina the first time in 1993. And I loved it. I was en route to do combat operations, and officially I came back here in 1996, and I was assigned here. And I just kept coming back, and I fell in love with North Carolina. I've been around Rayford. I've been around Hoke County since 1993. I've seen this county grow, explosive growth. And so I decided to retire here. I met my wife here in Fayetteville. We got married. We have our children, and I have first experience. Of course, the other thing that I haven't said is that I actually continue to still serve in a different capacity. I teach at a community college, and I can tell this right now because I'm probably going to say this again and again, is that I see the failure of the public school system firsthand when I know that students come to college, to a community college, and they cannot earn a degree because they can't pass the required English or the required math, and instead they drop out of college only to earn a student debt. So these people cannot tell me that they're doing a great job. To pass an individual forward is different than to making sure that the child is set up for success. And this is what they're going wrong. They can say, especially in Hoke County School District, they can say that they have an 87 pass rate, but how many kids really succeed in life?
Yeah.
I had to teach my daughter how to balance a checkbook because I assumed that what they taught me in high school, they were still teaching that. And so, I also want to say that parents are responsible for this, and we have a lot of parents that have become absent. And so, having said what I said earlier, I started attending the board meetings because I wanted to see. I myself was in denial. You know, people kept telling me, giving me excuses, so I decided to get active. And as a former Army soldier, I decided to go and scout the area first because I'm not going to go into a landmine of a bomb. So I go. November of last year was the first time I went to a board, and I immediately see within 5 minutes I saw who was in charge, and it was not the school board members. It's that superintendent. But what's so sad is that these people have forgotten that they work for the people, and that's why I decided to run. It was January when out of nowhere I felt like the spirit took over me. I stood up and I said what I said, and I'm running, and I know I upset a lot of people. I had a school board member. I've known these school board members, all of them, since 2004, because that's when I started working in Hoke County Sheriff's Office. So I know a lot of people, and a lot of people know me. And I had this one school board member ask me, "Why are you running?" And I can't even believe that I was asked that.
Yeah,
so
why not?
I asked her, I said, "Are you sure you want to tell you why I'm running?" Yes. And I told her, because you're not doing your job. Had you been doing your job, I would not be here right now. But you have failed the children of Hoke County. I mean, it's just very, education is a very passionate thing to me, because I know I have struggled all my life, you know, and we're the Latinos and Hispanics, we're very quiet people. We're like Julissa said, we're doers. We don't complain. We just get it done. We get it. We make it happen. You know, I can just imagine young Black students, whites, they get thrown to the side. I can just imagine those Hispanics and Latinos where the parents can't even talk English.
Yeah.
They just completely get lost in the system.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So we're going to go over, we want to be very precise about what the numbers are here. And we're going to go over, I guess you would say, the greatest hits here. I'm sure that you're going to be as disappointed in some of these numbers as the rest of us, let's see. All right, now I've got to blow this up a little bit. So we're going to know exactly what we're talking about here. Now this is in, where is this? We're in Cumberland now, okay? So this is Cumberland. Julie said this is your stomping ground.
It says Hoke on my screen.
Yeah, it says Hoke.
It does. Hold on. It does. Let's see what we're looking at. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, let's see what we're looking at. Does this change anything?
No.
Change it. We're just keeping it. Okay. Apologies. I'm just learning this particular software. Oh, I change it from here. Okay. All right. So let's go with Hoke. So Hoke, we're looking at the end of grade reading test for grade 4. Now, keep in mind, this is the 2021 school year. Okay. 2021 school year. But a lot of folks say, hey, that's because it was COVID, learning loss. I have news for you, folks.
No.
We were in a downward slide way before that. Do not let people tell you that. Sure, this exacerbated the problem, but here we are. So we look at Hispanics, and this is 70.8 score, what's called a not proficient in reading. So, you know, education experts theorize that really there's a sweet spot of language acquisition and reading, and there's a window, and 3rd grade is about the cutoff. Right. I mean, we know that it's not absolutely the cutoff, as evidenced, Ruben, by your own story,
right,
but we do know the ideal time to learn it. And if you've got 71% of Hispanic 4th graders coming out at the end of the grade year not being proficient at reading, you've got a problem. Now, let's look at all students. All students here in Hoke County are 63.7% not proficient. There are 4 levels. The bottom level is the not proficient. Actually, there's 3 levels, excuse me, on this bottom level. So you're exactly right. If 63.7% of students in 4th grade are not proficient, there needs to be policies in place. And to your point, Ruben, there needs to be accountability. Now let's look at military connected students. That's 41%. Okay, so that's much better. And to your point, there's at military parents. I mean, look, my dad was in the Army. I know how you guys are. You make your damn bed, you get up, you start your day, there's order throughout the entire day. And that might be a lot of what you're seeing. So it might be a parenting style, right? But you're looking at, let's look at Black students are at 69%. No excuse for that. None whatsoever. Let's see. I wanted to see whether white students were here. But when we look at academically gifted, I mean, I don't know if you can see it up there, guys. Academically gifted students, you've got none that are not proficient.
Right.
Right. So that's kind of where we are in the 4th grade. Now let's move along here. We're still in Hoke County. The end of 6th grade. Well, 6th grade, you've got 63% of Hispanic students.
Not proficient.
Not proficient. Not proficient. Now, all students, 60%. So what we see here, though, is obviously an improvement. But when we look at all students, you still have 63% of all students. So we're not getting any better as we go up. Now, the white students are still, we've got 43.6% here. Right? Could be a lot of different reasons for that. Not sure. Military connected, 46%. So it looks like the military connected and the white students are about the same. Now, this is reading. I hear a lot about the superintendent's new plan, you guys, to we're going to get people job ready, and we're going to teach that from K through 12. No, you're not. No, you're not. Name me one job where you can get away with doing it without reading. You want to get someone career ready? Teach them how to read, please. Thank you. Cumberland. Here we are, Cumberland. 4th through 8th grade. Oh my God, the suspense is killing me. Hold on. 4th through 8th grade, what? Let's see if I can make this bigger here. Well, I'm going to keep the suspense going. Hold on one second. Cumberland County, maybe I can find it here. Okay, yes. 4th through, wait. I'm sorry, guys. Can you talk amongst yourself? Let me get myself together here.
Well, the last stats that I had for 3rd through 8th grade for Cumberland County, based on North Carolina's Department of Public Instruction site, it had we were at 70 in reading. Excuse me, in math, it was 70-something% not proficient. So let's see what you have there.
Okay. All right. Let me switch it right over. Yeah. I mean, so we're talking about, the same sort of things. By the way, guys, the EOGs, the scores are not out for right now. So I can't give you an up to date. But what I can tell you is that, this is beyond, it's beyond.
So while you're trying to pull that up, I'll tell you that on their website, DPI has, I know they have these 4 levels that they claim, right? They have not proficient, then they have
there is 4, right? Yeah,
not proficient, level 3, level 4, and level 5. And in my opinion, just as my opinion, level 3 also is not proficient, because what they define as level 3 is the student has sufficient understanding of the grade level standards and will need help in the next grade. So to me, that's not a child who is solid in that subject matter. Okay. So,
right.
So let's see what you got there.
Okay. So what we have is reading grade 4 through 8. Okay. It takes an average. This is Cumberland County. So we've got 58.2% not proficient.
Yeah. And then
all students, 60%. So once again, it's something to write home about. The fact that 60% of students in Cumberland County, grades 4 through 8, on average, the end of grade level testing, you have a real problem. But, I'm not sure what your homeless population is there, but the homeless population is abysmal. We would expect that. Unfortunately, it's kind of the way it is. But again, all students are going to be higher at 60%. So gosh, it does look like Hispanic students in Cumberland County are faring a little bit better than just all students combined.
How do we get to how do we get to where a school has 60%? So we're looking at the all students, right? 58 to 60% of kids not being able to read. What are we doing in school?
There's a variety of things, you guys. We have, as you're well aware, we have hammered the hell out of something called social emotional learning. Here's why. It's many reasons, but here's the main one as applicable to the conversation here. It's something that is non-academic. It's in all 12 subjects.
Right.
So it takes up class instruction time. Let me tell you something else that takes up instructional time. Discipline problems. This is a state level. The things I'm talking about with you tonight, you guys are going to have to do something on the district level to fight at the state level. The discipline problems are out of control. We know it because we talk to teachers. They tell us this every day.
Right.
So it's not uncommon, Jaleesa, for teachers have to spend half of their instruction time dealing with that.
I have spoken to some teachers here, and that has been one of their main complaints is the discipline situation. They're powerless. They can't do anything. I've had a teacher who was groped by a student, and students allowed in a few days the students back in the classroom. I just can't imagine, how do you go to work knowing that a student has groped you and you have to go and see that student in a few days. But in connection to the Hispanic culture as a whole, we value education and we value discipline. Okay. But my concern is that these ideologies that are being pushed on our Black and brown students about, kids don't have to be accountable for their misbehavior or the discipline actions because equity. I mean, I just find that ridiculous, and it's not consistent with the value that the Hispanic culture places on discipline and just in education. So these policies are hurting our community. They're hurting everyone, right? I mean, they're hurting just when you can't expect a child to be disciplined. And I think that discipline role starts in the family. Of course, starts at home on an individual basis, but then as a community, we need to make sure that we are expecting our children to be well behaved. I mean, that's just that's so basic to me.
Common sense. I mean,
yes.
And Heather's bringing up a lot of things. Heather, this is another reason why we endorse Heather, because everything that you're talking about here, all of her ideas, and Heather, I know you thought a lot about this. It necessarily means we've got to keep the state out of the districts. This hammering skills, this testing. I mean, testing is important because you need to find out how bad you are. But I like the idea of nationally norming tests. In other words, anybody, any state that's doing terrible, or any superintendent who's not doing her job, could easily manipulate the EOG or the end of year testing so that it kind of makes the students look like they're doing better, right? But if you have nationally normed tests, you know that, wow, only 70% are proficient. But the national average is 30%. Boy, I'll tell you what, you have 1 year of that. How quickly do you think that legislators and everybody else would get on board and say, we got to change this because our state isn't competitive with the rest of the country? Ruben.
Here's the thing that I find as a problem, okay? And I don't know if everybody knows about this, but this is what happens, okay? Based on your last name, you can potentially be targeted to immediately be tagged for ESL. And these programs are not meant to help young children. They're actually meant to slow them down. And in turn, the school system receives additional funds for these programs. I've seen it time and time again, because you got to realize, I was in Hoke County Sheriff's Office. I was there for 11 years, and I would visit schools, and I would speak to parents. And so, some programs are intended to do good, but they're not. They initially start to do good, but they end up to be just nothing more. We've got to continue to put more students in this program so we can continue to get money, but they're not helping us. I'll tell you this right now. Children can pick up, the children are like sponges. Okay. You can get a 5-year-old kid, you can get a 4-5-year kid into elementary school, into kindergarten, speaks no English, just Spanish or Chinese, whatever it is. And within 6 months, that child, if you immerse them in just the English language, that child can be fluent in English in a matter of 6 months. But these programs, they are there to keep people down, more specifically the Black and brown people. That's what they're for. They're not there to help. I've seen it firsthand. They have these computer programs where the child just clicks, and after a while, the child, all they do is just click a button because they just want to get it over with. They're not learning anything. Computers, I know this because I teach them in online classes. Computers don't teach anything. They don't. If you don't know how to read well, you can't learn from a computer. So imagine a child that their level of attention is no more than 30 seconds. You force a child to stand in front of a computer for the hours, just pressing the button. And do you think that child is learning? The child is not learning. So we got these programs, and they're not working. So that's one of the issue. But I tell you what, the core of the problem is this: politicians. Okay, because politicians get in there with good intentions. I'm gonna say people get in there with good intentions. First term, great. Second term, okay. Third term, they become rubber stampers. I can tell you this right now. Besides whoever's listening to me, Hoke County Board of Education, they're nothing, maybe just one exception. There's 4 in there that there's nothing more than rubber stampers. I seen it. The person in charge is the superintendent. Although they have a chain of command organizational, and it says Hoke County School Board. What above that, it should be the parents, the school board, and then the superintendent. But it's the school board is on top. But it really, in reality, what I saw was that the superintendent is the top of the board members. That's a superintendent runs the show. I seen it firsthand. And I'll tell you this: how do I know this? How do I know she runs the show? Well, I'm not going to tell you exactly because I could potentially reveal my witness. But in closed session, the superintendent put out that, hey, I like to make a motion to not have our meeting every second Tuesday of each month. I think Tuesday or Thursday. I've got to so many meetings, but it's either the second Tuesday or the second Thursday of each month is when they have the board.
Wait. This is an employee. So a superintendent, you guys, is the employee of the board. So essentially, it's like me saying to my boss, hey, listen, I know we've got these Friday morning meetings at 7:30 a.m. and they really are inconvenient for me. Why don't we make it Thursdays at 10?
That's right. And so that's what's going on. I witnessed that most likely through a mistake. And I was told that was going on. I could not believe this superintendent is telling the school board members, this is what I recommend. This is what we need to do. And the school board members, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's what happened. And next thing you know, they reschedule the meeting. And the sad part about it is that they won't put that information in until the week of. And then everybody has to readjust because people get accustomed to going to that meeting at a specific day on a specific time. That also applies to transparency communication. There's no transparency with any topic you give me. I can tell you there's no transparency with any topic. It boils down to one thing. They have sold our children. We saw that during COVID. They sold our children for money, which makes me.
There's a couple things that you brought up, Ruben. I mean, you're correct. Most people don't know this. And again, I told you tonight it's going to be very upsetting, viewers, and truth often can be upsetting. The lower performing schools and the students that don't do well, etc. There is a ton of money. Districts make a ton of money. States make a ton of money. They do, I hate to be cynical, they do to an extent have a profit motive to keep this stuff going. Now, I'm going to have on Treasurer Dale Falwell. He's going to be on Thursday. I hope all of you can listen in because he's going to tell you, and we're going to talk about the extent to which the state is interfering and even hamstringing the districts. But he's big on this, and you guys know this. He's huge on transparency. That's the man's platform. He lives by it. He does all of that. We see an example with, I don't know if you've heard about the township of Spring Lake. Well, yes. The entire government was 100% corrupt. And you know how that happened? Lack of transparency and opaqueness that you just can't pick through. We cannot have that. So you're right. And Jaleesa, you know, we've talked about this where we're talking about the things that we have exposed at the DPI that you had no idea, etc. So let's pivot and talk about some of the policies that you're going to bring in with you. What, Jaleesa, will you be doing to give a better sense of transparency to parents, to others, that doesn't exist now?
Well, I think something I've been thinking about, and I don't yet know. I was thinking about that today a little today, and don't exactly know how to implement this, but I think this is very necessary. There has to be some way that the school board is responsive to parents. You know, we have school board meetings. Parents go, you get your 3 minutes, you talk, but there is no back and forth because that's not the forum for that. I don't know if some kind of a town hall or there's got to be some brainstorming around what that should look like so that parents can have interaction. There is none. I hear from a lot of parents that they'll email their board member for their district and they never hear back. There are a couple of board members that are known to respond to parents, but the majority of them, they never hear back. I had a teacher who was leaving, and this was a teacher. She was leaving the school this past year, and she sent 2-3 emails to the board telling them, hey, I wanted to tell you I'm leaving. There was never well, let's talk to you, see why you're leaving. There was no response.
No exit interview.
None. And I think that's just really unacceptable. I guess, you know, I'm a real estate broker. And so my name, the amount of referral business I get is based on how well I treat my clients, right? And so I know I'm just used to being responsive. If a client reaches out to me, texts an email, I'm going to respond as quickly as I possibly can. And so that's just a basic level of professionalism. How do you say you represent District 1, whatever, and people and these parents, these constituents are emailing you with their concerns. Now, I know that you're not going to be able to address every concern in the way the parent wants it, right? Because there's just so many different ways people can look at things. Right. But just the courtesy of saying, I've received your email. Here's where my position is on that. Or here's why I voted this way. Here's why I support this. None, just crickets. And I think that's really unacceptable. And that's where parents then really start getting frustrated and feel that their voice doesn't matter because you go there, you speak your mind for 3 minutes, and more than often than not, they're just looking at you like there's just no, you know, they're not there. And some forum where parents can talk and the board members, they can chat. I really would love to see that.
I love the idea of a town hall, very much so. And Ruben, we talked a little bit about this before, where we're Americans first. We do not, the thing about conservatives, we do not get into identity politics. And so the conversation tonight is not about, oh, okay, how do we get the Hispanic vote? And how do we get the Jewish vote? And how do we get it's not about that. It's that we talked about this, is that there's a certain culture that, that isn't always accounted for. I mean, we cannot, again, we're not going to pander to, certain votes. And in schools, we're not going to work around people's culture. That's what's called critical race theory, by the way. That's the thesis behind that. But what are some of the, you'd be hard pressed, Hispanics, the average Hispanic family, you'd be hard pressed to have anything in common with hardcore progressive families, just values, culture, everything, right? So what do the Hispanic families need to know about the conservative education platform that they're just not hearing from the party?
Well, I want to, that's a very interesting question. I want to answer this question twofold, okay? And some people don't like to listen to this, okay? But I want to bring to the front educational equity. And depending on what side, of course, I am running on a nonpartisan platform, okay? But like I said earlier, nonpartisan people have shown to us that they are politicians because they implemented a lot of unconstitutional things during COVID. So they're politicians. I don't care what anybody says. Okay, so when I say educational equity, okay, we have to make sure that all students, not Hispanics, not blacks, not whites, only all students, because I stand, and if I can, if anybody goes to www.castellon.blog, I have a pledge, and it tells you my first thing that I stand for students first, parents always, because students are being academically neglected and parents have been sidelined. So I am the voice of the people. And so having said educational equity, we have to make sure, especially you think Cumberland County or Moore County or Wake County has a ban? Try to have transportation pick your student from your home. More often than not, thank God that my wife does not work out of the home. But most of the time, my wife has to take my daughter to school at 9 o'clock in the morning when she should have already been in the classroom. So those are some of the issues that we have that they're not being addressed. That goes along with transparency, unable to communicate with the parents. They have basically sidelined. It's you put it out. That's my pledge right there. And if people go there, it tells you basically. And I'll tell you what, these are all from my heart, but I'll tell you what, any parent has an issue with at least 3 or 4 of those of my pledges. It's just unbelievable that this is everything that I have felt the whole time.
This is number 5. Vote on subjects based on scientific facts and not political ideologies. This includes defeating any CRT curriculum in the school district. What we're saying here is that that policy in and of itself would take care of a lot of this nonsense. If we got politics of all stripes, okay, out of the classroom, guess what, you guys? That actually is a conservative platform. I'm going to tell you why. When you have a strict liberal arts education that's rooted in the humanities, right? Because that's the way that liberal arts should be. When you have that, you don't have time for this nonsense. And so when we learn from true history, we learn from the classics, we read from that kind of classical liberal arts education, it is absolutely politics free. You know why? Politics is fluff, right? Critical thinking, for instance, people are always talking about, I want to teach critical thinking. Kids need to learn that. No, they need to know logic and reason. That is what's absent. critical thinking, I mean, it means something. It's like a Rorschach, right? It means something different for everyone. But getting back to the classics, that's why I like your number 5 on your pledge. I think that that's going to take care of a lot of this stuff. Chris has something to say about Hope. Hoke County parents suffer from such poor roads. School buses can't even come by their houses. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, yeah, Chris, your overarching point is that where's the money? People need to do better. We're paying $5 for a gallon of gas and a gallon of milk. There's tons of money being lit on fire. Chris, we need to know where the money's going.
Sloan, let me tell you where the money is going, okay, to all these nonprofit organizations that are all linked to the upper echelon of the school districts, okay? Such as the tip. That's just one example.
$8 million from the state they got. Let me tell you how that runs. You want to know the scheme? I'm gonna break it down. I told y'all were gonna get mad tonight. You're gonna get mad. So TIP is a program that works with principals in key areas. I think 15 or 20. And what happens is TIP gets a tremendous amount of money to do things that we don't really know what they do, Ruben and Jaleesa. It's like a black box.
Yeah.
But I can tell you this, they're paid for votes. So by the time, let's just say a superintendent who oversaw an $8 million grant to TIP goes back for re-election. Well, I mean, if you were cynical, you would think that the vote is secured by giving special favors and money to this group.
Yeah, it's a pretty too vague. When you go to their website, it's so vague. You don't know what they really are doing.
That's the point.
Right. Yeah. And meanwhile, school districts are siphoning funds to this organization.
I mean, that's just
how much.
That's just one example. We counted over 136,000 in a short period. We're talking about just a few years. Okay, when we drafted a FOIA request, a Freedom of Information request, they could only give us to 7 years. Over $136,000, and then they complain because they can't give the teachers a raise.
Exactly.
Because these people are funneling money. They're stealing my taxpayer money, our taxpayer money, and they're self-serving. They do this so when they leave the public school system, they have a job somewhere. I have not been able to verify this, okay? But the last superintendent that just left about a year ago from Hoke County, it is my understanding, and you know what, I'm not going to say because I don't want to give them a heads up, but this money, they have all these organizations, nonprofit organizations, and none of them help our children. It helps the self-serving. I don't know what name to come out with these people.
Watch it. I can tell you're on the verge.
They are thieves. They're corrupt. They're in it for themselves. They don't care about our children. And here's the sad part about when it comes to money. As soon as the state provides a program, because it's nothing more than putting money down so they can get something in return. As soon as the state says, hey, I got this ABC program and it's for 3 years, you're going to get $4 million. Okay, then you get it. Okay, that program might have good intention, but when it's done, it's over. It's done. And who did not benefit? The students.
Right.
No accountability as to where that.
No accountability. It just disappears. It's just the way. It's no different. It's no different than what the Biden administration did with Ukraine. $49 billion. Do we know that they even got it? We don't know. That's what's going on in the public school system. It's a whole bunch. It's a revolving door of money in, money out, money in, money out.
And no
results. It's my money.
And no results. We look at the results. There's no return on investment. And look, the Democrats, when you ask them, how do you improve education? What do they say? Money, pay our teachers more. They're not getting paid. Well, that's bull hockey. That's not true. But you ask, you can ask Republicans what they think. And unfortunately, Republicans are pretty late or pretty new to this school reform game, right? We just started getting pissed off 2 years ago. Liberals have been at this for a very, very long time. So we really don't a lot of times know, well, where does the power derive from? Is it the state? Is it the district? Is it the superintendent? Who is from? We are going to go over that on Thursday, by the way. But look, if you don't know who has the power, then you don't know who to call on for accountability. You don't know who to go after. That's part of the problem, Ruben. And no one, to your point, Julissa, is standing up on the board saying, damn it, the buck stops here. No one is doing that. No one's putting themselves on the firing squad.
Yeah, I think I noticed that on the board, there's a lot, and this happened in 2017, 2018 here in Cumberland County when the Planned Parenthood's Get Real sex education program was piloted here in Cumberland County. And what I think happens a lot, I think that the board members, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think that something is presented to them and it sounds good. And no one knows to dig deep into what is being presented to them before they vote and agree to something. And so that's my thing is with that sex education program, teachers, it was voted in and parents were so upset that the board had to rescind that and get rid of that program. But that curriculum should have never been voted in. And what I see is that with the board members, the board meetings I've been to, they're being presented something. Oh, this is an anti-bullying program, and it sounds great because who's going to say?
That's what they do, Julissa. Right. They put it under the umbrella of. I mean, we have a joke. Anything that mentions kids or peace, right? Especially kids for peace. You can be sure that it's exactly the opposite. So there's these little buzzwords. Mm-hmm. Equity is one. Anti-bullying. Now, an anti-bullying program is trans grooming. I'm not kidding. That's what it is.
I believe it.
Yeah, I know. And the whole with the whole thing with social emotional learning, when you present it, it sounds great. Help children manage their emotions, but these are all just Trojan horses, and what they're getting in there. And so the board members need to dig into what is it that they are agreeing to and approving, and that's something that I intend to do.
And let me add to something that you said earlier, Sloan. And so, and I've always said this it's not about the money. You can put a lot of money in anything, but it's not going to solve anything when we have issues of the heart. We know this, and people don't like to hear this, but we have some parents that just quit. Okay. And we can't just blame the teachers. I don't necessarily blame the teachers because I say this, they're not in charge. The superintendent is. In my county, the board members are not in charge. The superintendent is in charge. They have their own agenda. If they're socialists, that's what they're going to be pushing. If they're Marxists, that's what they're going to be pushing. If they're communists, that's what they're going to be pushing. Let me tell you the contrast and compare. Moore County, which is my sister county with Hoke County, they get less money per child, about $2,000 less money per child per year. Okay. But their results are better than Hoke County. So it's not about money. You can add another $10,000 to every child in Hoke County and still not going to resolve the issue that these people are these kids, these young kids are future community leaders, our future state leaders, our future federal leaders, our neighbors. They're just being passed through. It started a long time ago. It started when I was going through school.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I mean, we need to, accountability and transparency are the things that we're talking about.
And that's one of my pledges right there. Accountability and transparency on everything. I like to add to what Julissa said. One of the things that I would change, of course, I can't add every little topic that I'm going to try to change. But one of the things that is very disturbing to me is that they allow the public period for a total of 30 minutes. and you're only allowed 3 minutes. So if you have some serious complaints, you have to choose and pick what you're going to talk about. And then they just don't listen to you. They roll their eyes. They start conversations. It is so disappointing. And I keep thinking, I voted for these people a long time ago. I voted for these people, and this is how they treat me. They forget I'm your boss.
People from all over the country, Ruben, are saying this, and they've had enough. And so that you're running is really great. So I really want to hammer in on these last few minutes. I want you to give advice for school board candidates who are running all over the state, some partisan, some not. What do they, and they're not Hispanic, what do they need to be doing to communicate with Hispanics that the ideas, the pledge, Ruben, that you just put up, that is good for all families, first of all. But it's nice to tailor it and to be able to know something about Hispanics and to be able to say, this is uniquely suited for you.
Well, first of all, I tell my wife I don't tell jokes, so it might come out as a story. First of all, you don't ever tell a Mexican that, let's go ahead and have tacos for breakfast. It just doesn't work that way, okay? So you haven't said that. You have to familiarize yourself with the people you're going to talk to. You have to do your background, for lack of words. When I used to be a criminal investigator, before I approached my target, the person of interest, I did a background on you. Mm-hmm. I knew enough on you to start questioning you to see if you were going to lie to me. And this is what people don't do. We are a very unique group of people, especially because I tell you what, let me just picture this to you. There are millions of people migrating every day from south of the border, different races, okay? They keep coming in for the American dream. And this is what I want to tell the Latinos and the Hispanics, okay? Education is so important to us. It was to me because my father took me to the fields to work in a hot sun in California. And he taught me a valuable lesson. And he says, this is why you have to achieve the American dream. And the American dream is by finishing your higher education, because with higher education, more doors open and you get out of the hard labor, being out there in the sun all day, being in construction, laying a roof, picking up tomatoes all day in the field. And my dad, while he was punishing me because I was failing school in the fields, he taught me a very valuable lesson. This is why I came into the Army, because back then we had a saying, be all you can be. Only you can stop yourself. Okay, people need to stop self-victimizing. Here, the only person that can stop you is you. If you want to be a doctor and you have the mental capacity to do that, you can be a doctor. If you want to be a teacher, you can be a teacher. Only in America, you can be whatever you want to be. It's proven right now by people that think that they are something they can never be.
Absolutely. So, Jaleesa, what advice would you give to someone who has maybe trepidation about, talking to Hispanic, Latino neighbors or what have you? What advice would you give to maybe, families that don't speak English? What can we do?
Break down again. You mean a neighbor speaking to somebody who is not a native Spanish?
That was confusing, right?
Yeah.
Bottom line, how would someone running for office, let's say someone running for school board, okay, be able to talk to others that are Hispanic or Latino and sell them on the value of the principles that we just put up of cutting out all the crap, direct instruction time, politics out of the classroom, fiscal responsibility, right? We haven't even talked about the inculcation of the trans movement.
Right.
I mean, what are the issues that you would hammer? How would you advise people to go about that?
Well, you said how can we sell this to? we don't have to sell anything. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go back to what I said in the beginning, that the Hispanic culture as a whole is conservative. Okay, if you go back to the representative countries of Hispanics, they tend to have generally conservative values. They are hard workers. They believe in a really strong work ethic. They are very big on the importance of education. They're very big on just discipline and authoritarian, being following rules, in the sense of children obey their parents. Okay, that's all very already organically our nature. Okay, so there's nothing that needs to be sold. What needs to happen is, and this is where the Republicans have failed, is you need to get your message to these people. You don't have to see it as you're selling anything. You just need to tell them, these things that you value, that your culture values, these are the things we're fighting for. And I think that's what's not happened, is that the Republican Party has failed to, and I think I kind of may understand why. They probably feel like, the Democrats have all the Black and all the Hispanic votes, and we're not going to bother.
We don't ask for the vote. We're not canvassing those neighborhoods. That's not happening.
Right. We're not
go and ask for these votes.
We need to get out there.
We're telling the candidates, look, go and say, Mr. and Miss Jones, I want to show you two things. Bring a copy of the surveys. Do you see this, Miss Jones? Okay, great. Do you like this? No. What about this book? Okay, we don't like it either. So you may not like me. You may not like the party you think I come from. There are a lot of things you may not like, but I tell you what, this and this, we just agreed, have got to be out. And I'm the person to do that. And I'll tell you, there's not a minority class in America that you could show those surveys to and those books to. Let the pictures talk for you. Right. No minorities in the country. The only people that say, yeah, I kind of think it's a good idea to have that, are progressives and not Democrats. Progressives, and generally speaking, the upper echelon of progressives. Right. Progressives have nothing in common with minorities.
And that's what I was going to say in terms of, the Democrat, what we're offering is not antithetical to the Democratic Party either. There are so many Democrats people on the left who value education. They want their children to be educated in school. They don't want this pornography, their children exposed to this pornography. So it's not really a conservative value. I think it's something that we just need to show everyone out there. Here's what we stand for. We are with you. We don't agree with indoctrination in schools. We want to study all of history, and we want all of American history to be taught. We are demanding that our students, that our schools produce in terms of this academic achievement for our students. Yeah. I think that is. I made a video about this to my folks, saying this is something that doesn't matter where you are on the political spectrum. This is something that we can all, I think, the majority of Americans, regardless of what side, can agree on. So, again, the Republican Party just has been lousy at messaging, at showing people what they can offer them, and we're paying the price.
So, if somebody's running for, I'm more specifically at the local level, at the state, I've discovered that the school board members have so much power. They're actually governed. I didn't even know this until I started digging. They're governed by laws. They have a lot of power. DPI recommends this is the subjects that you're going to teach, but it's the board members to say yes or no. But they're complacent. They become politicians. You cannot tell me that a person that runs for school board wants to be a school board member for 30, 35 years, getting paid $400 a month. You can't make a living that way. There's something else in there. There's something else in there. I suspect that on the third term, they give them a suitcase. Now, of course, I'm just alleging. They put in a suitcase in front of money and say, "You either you're either in, or we'll push you out." They see that money right there and say, "Oh man, you can't live off of that." There's no justice for our children. And it's time. I said earlier, I don't want politicians. I want warriors. I want warriors to fight for children, my children. I'm going to fight for your children. And I'm going to be the voice of the parents, because we have been silent. No more are we going to take this sitting down. And I tell you what, if I can, on November the 8th, I have an army behind me. We're going to show all these that don't care about. If you are against me, you are against students, and you are against the parents that I'm speaking for. No more. No more. It is time for change. It is time for change. We can no longer teach our children to hate America while China is teaching their children to love their country. Right. No more. No more. Enough is enough. If you hate your country that much, I will pay your ticket so you can go somewhere and hope that country takes you. Only in America can you be whatever you want to be. So if you are running for school board anywhere in the U.S., you need to be bold. You need to stand up for what is right, no matter what happens to you. To be polite to people is a discredit to our students and to our parents. I am not a politician. I am a warrior, and we need warriors right now more than ever. So if you're listening to me, you need to stand up, grab your shield, and prepare, because we're coming. I'm sorry. I'm just emotional.
I cannot follow that. That is amazing. And you're right. What we have here, just in closing, guys, those of you who are listening to this, I mean, how can you not be pumped after listening to Ruben drop that truth on us? I have a neighborhood, I have a cul-de-sac, and I very rarely go out and talk to my neighbors, just routinely about these things. But you're right. Our national security is on the line here. I mean, China's dream is having all of our males totally emasculated through this trans movement.
That's right.
Come true. We're at a precipice where either you stand or get the hell out of the way, right? So it's incumbent upon you to talk to your neighbors and understand too that minorities of all stripes, Americans also, we have a shared destiny. And that's what we need to be speaking about. Martin Luther King said this: we didn't all come over here on the same boat, but we're all in it now, right? We're all in this country now, and we really have shared values. And so we are very unlike the leftists in that they want everything, in little balkanized areas, gay, straight, Christian, not Black, Jewish. We are one. But again, when you are talking to people, people like to hear from people that actually have taken the time to know who they're speaking with and do their background, like you said, Ruben. So we've got to kind of keep that in mind. We've got to keep the scores in mind, and we owe it to everyone to keep these kids safe. And the way that you do that, right, is to make sure that they're actually learning. The number one way to do that is make sure the schools are for what they're intended. Look, schools nowadays are about the adults who run them rather than about the school kids who need them. So we need to get back to that. We need to get back to basics. And so, Ruben, we had your website up. Can you give us the website again? Because if you want to donate $10, $20, whatever you have, Ruben.
It's www.castellon.blog. www.castellon.blog.
Blog. Okay. Julissa.
Mine is just my name, www.julissajumper.com. On there, you can see all my positions. We have a lot of articles and showing why I stand for what I stand. and you get a really good sense of who I am, and you can donate and volunteer
Please.
as well.
Donate. I mean, signs cost money. Signs are used for name recognition. We have to have it. It is a must-have. Okay, Jaleesa needs to have 1,000 to be competitive. That costs money. It's about $4 a sign, right?
Right.
So we need to have that money. We need to have that going in. And for everybody, I need you to remember shared destiny. You owe it to yourself to inform your neighbors. Don't back away. Don't shy away at that. Your neighbors are looking for leadership on who to vote for in these school board races because it's nonpartisan. You need to be that leader. You need to go out there. You need to influence everybody. 10 votes minimum. You have to influence 10 votes for the school board minimum. Okay. So that's your goal. Actually, that's an order, right? Ruben, we don't.
That's right. That's right. I tell you, if I can, I tell people, I don't need your support. I need your vote. So we can vote these corrupt politicians out. They need to be out. They've done enough damage. It's time for us to start healing, truly healing and repairing our country. If you can allow me, I want to say two things. The people know that North Carolina has a constitution, and according to the Constitution, it is the people's right and privilege to go to have an education. And it is the state's job to guard that right. And also that you know that in 1979 Congress enacted the Department of Education Organization Act. And Congress, what they said under Title United States Code Section 3401, they had several findings, and one of the most important things they did was that it is the responsibility of the parent to educate their children, and it is a responsibility of the school system, or whether it be private school system, to support the parental role. It is not the teachers, it's not the superintendent, it's not the board members to educate my child. You are to educate my child the way I want my child to be educated, to my conservative principles.
Because they work for everyone.
That's right. Love your neighbor. Don't hate your neighbor.
Right. And that means to love your neighbor, you have absolutely positively got to go and tell them how many votes. How many votes do you need to influence everybody?
10.
10 minimum. 10 minimum. Got to get out the vote. All right, guys. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Sloan.
Don't forget Dale Falwell. You've got to check it out. If you want to know the difference between the state role and the district role, got to check it out. Bye, guys. Have a good night.
You too.